What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, coming back at you tonight to do another lake breakdown. We're limited on our Texas lakes because we've done so many of them, but we still have a few more out there left. And I was doing some research, and I thought that I had Lake Bonham completed, and I actually had the Bonham City Park Lake, which is like a huge pond. I had that one done, but I actually didn't do Lake Bonham, which, if you wondered where Lake Bonham is, it's up there really close to Bodark Lake, the new lake that just got established this year. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go through, we're going to take a look at Lake Bonham. This one looks like a pretty cool little pond. Let's go check it out. Bye. Like we always do, we start off on the Texas Park and Wildlife fishing page to see what kind of information we can find out about the lake, lake characteristics, things like that. And this one will be no different. We're still here in Texas. We're going to look at Bonham City Lake. This is located 3 miles northeast of the city of Bonham off FM 273. Pretty small lake. The surface area is only 1,020 acres. Maximum depth's only 30 foot, and it was impounded back in 1969. You can look here to look at the current lake levels. It talks about the fluctuation being moderate, normal, clarity being moderate as well. I can tell you from the Google Earth images, it doesn't expose too much on this lake, so it doesn't look like it has that much fluctuation. It's pretty steady, you know, maybe 2 or 3 feet, but nothing too crazy as far as the fluctuation of water. Maybe up on the northern side or back here, this backside, it might get a little bit more, but overall, I don't see a lot of water fluctuation on this one. Talk about aquatic vegetation. There is native emergent vegetation, including cattail, bulrush, water willow, and water primrose. The predominant fish species in this lake are largemouth bass, channel and blue catfish, and crappie. If we go down here, we look, it says catfish, crappie, and sunfish are all excellent for this lake, and then largemouth bass are good. Also, if you move up here, it talks about lake records. So you can go up here to lake records and look for largemouth bass. The biggest largemouth here was caught in June 5th of 2010. It was 11 and a half pounds. A pretty good largemouth for such a small pond for sure. So go down here, it talks a little bit more about fishing habitat structures. It does say that they created some habitat structures that have been placed around the fishing pier. When you go and you look at the Texas Park and Wildlife habitat structure, it only shows one, and that's right there on the fishing pier, I think on the south boat ramp, like the main boat ramp that's out there. So not a lot of habitat structures that are there, but it also says that some of the best cover that's provided is by the 1.5 miles of riprap along the dam. So the dam must be a really, really good place to fish. Also, another thing to note here is fish the dam with spinnerbaits in the spring. Spinnerbaits are also good in the main coves that are lined with cattails. The edges of the cattails hold lots of bass. Later on in the summer and into the fall, go worms and crankbaits for bass. So one thing to really, that really stands out is the cattails, right? So obviously, we need to look for these cattails. We need to mark the cattails when we're doing the breakdown because they're a key component of the cover that is on this lake. And I'm sure it's going to be an area that we want to focus on. So the cool thing about this is I'm actually going to go out on video here next weekend on this lake, and we're going to see the results from what we break down this week for Bonham Lake, and then actually put the card in. We'll walk you guys through the process, and we'll go out and we'll fish the waypoints and see how it goes. So that is the Texas Park and Wildlife fishing page for Bonham City Lake. Now let's switch over and let's look at this thing from Google Earth. There's some pretty cool stuff out there. Well, here we are out on Bonham Lake. We're using the Google Earth image for Bonham Lake. And just real quick, there's 2 different lakes in Bonham. And this is what confused me the first time is I think someone had actually asked me for this lake and I broke down the wrong lake. But there's actually a Bonham State Park as well. So here's Lake Bonham. And then Lake Bonham State Park is down here, or Bonham State Park. And this is called Bonham Lake as well. So it's very confusing. But you can tell here, Bonham State Park Lake. But you can see here, this is much smaller reservoir. Probably not going to go out and put a bunch of bass boats out there or anything like that. Although, I don't even see any boats with trailers or anything out there, but much smaller, probably a good looking kayak place or something like that. But we do have that one out on the website. You can see it here. It's got lots of Texas Park and Wildlife fish attractors to go fish around. Very small, but looks like it could be a pretty good little kayak thing or something like that. That's not what we're here for. So I'm going to go ahead and take off that one. We're looking at Bonham City Lake. So Bonham City Lake, again, is north of that Bonham State Park quite a bit. But once we get up there, you'll see the lake. Really cool features, really good looking little lake. So let's go ahead and start breaking it down. So first off, I told you about the cattails, and I think what I've marked are cattails. If not, it's definitely that really thick cover that they're talking about fishing around. But I believe they're called cattails. And so what I've done is I've went out on the lake. I've used the imagery. I've gone up here and I've moved it down and moved it up to try to find the lowest water levels. And then once I find that lowest water level, then I basically start marking everything that I can from the satellite imagery. So here you can see that we've got the water pretty low, 2017. There's not a lot of good images for this lake. But now if I wanted to come out, let's say I want to go out next weekend and I want to really focus on hitting those cattails and see if that is really a productive pattern, I know exactly where they all are and I can go directly to them very quickly. So I've got all those marked for you guys. I've also got the channels that are marked in here. I don't see any major creek channel coming through here. I don't know what's created this lake. Obviously some kind of creek system or river arm or something like that, but I don't see anything visibly where I can really mark any really good channels for you. There were some good channels back in here where these creeks are coming in, back up there as well. There's some interesting, like really deep sections right in here by these docks too that I'd like to check out. Then you've got some more back in here, but nothing too crazy. Like normally you would use those tracks to line up in the creek channel and fish that creek channel, but I don't know if you're going to be able to take advantage of that on this lake just because the way it sets up. We've also got several different areas of cover. You can see just marking out some key points, some debris that we found, some laydowns, and a fence row. There wasn't a ton here in this lake. Again, it's only 1,000 acres, so we're not going to find a ton of stuff. We're going to come back to the offshore stuff because that's going to reset my date when I pull those up. We've also marked the different slabs and ramps that are out there. Not too many, but some of these are probably going to be pretty good ones to fish because it's the only hard area in the whole area, so fish will definitely attract to it. And then we've got the rock mark for you. Most of this rock is going to be that shallow rock, right? The riprap, the rock that's up around the seawalls, things like that. Still productive areas to fish, but they're not going to be like big rock piles if that's what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and go back here to the offshore. I'll just show you the offshore stuff really quick. Notice it's going to move my timeline all the way back up. And we're going to talk about this. We'll switch over to the Navionics mobile app. And I'll just show you these areas. There's not too many of them, but we've marked probably, let's just look and see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different offshore spots in this lake that we feel like should be very high percentage areas. So we'll talk about those as well. And that's based off the contours. So it's not something that we saw here in Google Earth, but it's something that we saw once we switched over and looked at the contours for the lake. Then they really stuck out as being, hey, these are probably key areas to go look at. All right, so let's go ahead and select everything. I'm going to take the offshore stuff off, and I'm going to move this up to 2021, back to 2021. I just like the image better. Again, the offshore stuff's going to go away, but that's okay. We'll talk about it here in a second. And then I'm going to go up at the top to view. I'm going to take off this sidebar, and we're going to start breaking down this lake. So let's just start up here at the dam. Let's work our way up the top, and then we'll work our way around. Just some really, should be really quick, fast breakdown. There's nothing really key here that really jumped out at me. I was like, oh man, I just uncovered the greatest thing ever. So it's more using these waypoints to pattern these fish. So here's your riprap. These are all the different areas where you see the cattail. If I zoom in here, you'll really see them. It's that really bushy looking stuff. And you've got quite a few areas that have it on this lake. And so I've marked all those key areas that have it where it actually comes out and gets into the water on these images. And then of course we've got the creek channel back there. When you come up here from the dam and go into this first main cove, some pretty good coves that are in this lake for sure. There is a little, I don't know if this is a creek channel because I can't see what's in the trees, but some kind of little ditch or a little cutout that's right here. And I could see that being, somewhere the fish could be attracted to. You've also got a couple laydowns that are up here. You can see there's some timber in the water over here as well. There's laydowns there. There's laydowns here, all in here. There may even be some kind of debris or cover that's right on the tip of that point too. So this could be an interesting spot to look at just right in there. Then we get up here, we're talking shallow rock, right? Shallow little riprap around some of these docks. We got some shallow rock there as well. You can see too much up here, a little bit of rock around this point. There's an old boat ramp that's there. That would be a good one to fish. And then some rock around this dock that's back in here. Quite a bit of rock right in there. Even got a little transition area where it looks like they got like a little swimming beach or something like that. But it's pretty good rock back in there. And then you got a creek channel that runs on this side. Now, I do like, if you look at this image, I'll bring it over here to the center. Notice how much deeper this is right in here. You're like, how do you know that's deeper? Well, if you look, it's light color here and it's dark here. So something's going on back here in this little stretch right in here. So spend some time scanning around and see where they're holding up to. They could hold up to this dock pretty good, this point, that dock, even that ramp. But this could be a nice little deeper spot for them in the back of a pocket. So when they're back there, that's a good place for them to bail out to. Let's go ahead and keep moving up. Also, if you notice here, these docks, both of these docks, they're literally setting right on the edge of a point, which makes them a way higher percentage dock than most docks that are out there. I mean, obviously, when you get those docks with the creek channels running below them, those are really good. But when you get docks that are setting out somewhat isolated out off of points like that, they become very high percentage docks. So if you're coming back here and fishing, just take 2 seconds, maybe not 2 seconds, 5 minutes a piece, and just hit each one of these docks and see if you can find any fish on them. Any of these docks that stick out, right? They're kind of lonesome, like this one. That could be a good one as well. All right, so let's keep moving down. Let's talk about what we found right in here. Just some shallow rock, more of that shallow rip-rap and rock. And there is some debris that's over here off this point. If I zoom in, you'll see it. So there's something going on right here. And there may even be something right there too. I couldn't really tell if that was like a buoy or a tree or what's going on, but there's something going on right around in this area of these points. Also notice this could be like a shallow spot, a little shallow point, and then it breaks off right there because see how it's a lighter color there. So just some things to think about when you're out here looking at this lake and figuring out how you want to fish it. We've also got some shallow rock here, more shallow rock there as well. Here's the boat ramp. That's the north boat ramp, I believe. We've also got a little more rock right here around these little seawalls. Kind of the same thing. There's this more, I put rock, but it's more like debris. It's like chunks of concrete, but it's all up against this seawall. And they love that kind of stuff. That's so seawalls with that hard stuff around them, they just love it. You've also got ramps here, a ramp. More rock around this point. Rock around this point as well. I'm going to back out and show you guys where I'm at. So we're about halfway down the lake now. We're going to come over here, back here. We're going to get back in here. Not too much back in here. A lot of docks, right? So you could definitely do some dock fishing, but there's some debris over here. If I zoom in, you'll see it. This is one of the few places where I started to see some strange stuff. So notice this stuff that's in here. I don't know what it is, but some type of debris. There's even a little bit out here. And then they clearly know this dock owner, or these guys know each other, because this one has the same type stuff. So I don't know what that is. Probably really good to attract crappie, but if it's attracting crappie, it's also attracting the bass. So you'll want to take a look at it. And then we're going to move on up here. We're going to get all the way back in here before we really see anything that really stands out. And notice this point that comes out. I don't know how far out it comes here. We'll have to look at the contours, but that could be a really good point to fish for sure. You got some riprap back in here, and then I don't even know if you can get back in there, but if you can, you go do some frogging and stuff back in there for sure. We're going to come back down. We've got a ramp that's there as well. Didn't see too much here, just a lot of docks. And again, just kind of glance at it and see, is there any dock out here that just sticks out? Like for whatever reason, it's by itself or it's off of a point or something like that. And I don't really see too much here. These docks that have these long walkways scare me because that means they're really, really shallow. And a lot of these have long walkways. So I'm not really sure, but probably I'd fish, if I had to, I'd say I'd pick this one. This would be the one I would pick in this little area just because how it's setting off that point. Let's keep moving down and see what else we find. We've got a drain that's over here, and they like to set up on this kind of stuff. It's very strange, but they will attract to that stuff. You've got a little more rock there around that dock. Now we're coming out around this main lake point. These things are definitely going to attract fish. There's more of those cattails or whatever kind of bushes those things are. You got more right in here, more rocks, another ramp. As we move up here, this one is a little bit suspicious looking because you can't tell in this image. You can tell something's going on here, but you can't really tell. You don't see that big group of clumpy like weeds. But if you move this up to, it's not even going to let me do it. If I move it back, let's say to 2023, you can see that is some type of debris that's out there. It's either submerged or it's really close to submerged, and there's part of it as well. So anyways, take a look at that area for sure. See what you can find there. We're going to move up. We find a little bit of rock here as well. Some more of those cattails back here. Here's some riprap around this bridge and everything. I don't know if you can get underneath the bridge. You've got some pretty good vegetation that's back here and a decent little creek channel that's back here as well. Then we're going to move down another little group of those cattails that's there. More rock. There's that fence line. I have no idea why it comes so far out, but those bass love to hang out on the outside edges of this thing. So if you pull up, don't come in and fish fence line out. Come in and fish from the very edge of it and work your way down the pole. Your biggest one will likely be right there off the very edge of it. All right, so let's keep moving down. If this dock's still under construction, you got all this debris, fish that. Some more of those cattails that are out there. Whole bunch of cattails here out by a ramp behind the VFW. More cattails, more cattails. A little bit of shallow rock that's in here. More cattails there as well. Really good riprap around this road area. And then when you get back in this back side, there's a little point that's back here that looked pretty cool. So I wanted to point that out to you guys as well. All right, so let's switch over. Now we're going to go back down on this south side, see what we can find down here. As we get over in this area, just more of those cattails. Didn't see too much back in here. I was hoping this would be like a little creek maybe because it kind of looks like a creek, but I can't tell, and there's a neighborhood there. So if it is a creek, it goes just like that. That's the channel, but I couldn't tell. It wasn't defined enough, so I didn't mark anything for you guys. And then you can see on the screen here, we got about 4 different spots where we've got the shallow rock, so you could look at that. The most interesting one is this one back here to the right. If the water were to come up a little bit, I don't know how far down it was in this image, but if it comes up and covers up to here, this is going to be a really good spot to look at. Good little secondary point, nice well, it's covered, it's protected, all kinds of good stuff back there. Now look at these huge areas of cattails that are over here. So you could spend some time fishing in these areas for sure. More shallow rock right in there. A little more shallow rock back in here as well. You can see there's not a lot of rock anywhere else, but it is definitely right here. I don't know if this was an old boat ramp at one time because you can see kind of the concrete stuff that's there and it's all overgrown now. I don't know what it was, but you definitely have some rock. If it was an old boat ramp at one time or something, there could be debris out here in the water as well that we just can't see. All right, then we're going to move up. Here's the south boat ramp. And then when you get outside that south boat ramp, right here, you'll notice some really good little riprap, nice little riprappy point. Really good cattails off this point. This is another offshore spot too. There was a pretty good point that came out here. Then you've got cattails out here, down here by the dam as well. And then we get right back up to where we started, and that was the riprap on the dam. So let's just switch over real quick. I'm not going to do the Navionics mobile app because it's kind of a pain to hook up my phone. But what I am going to do is I'm going to switch over, and we're going to use the Navionics web app. And I want to show you the offshore spots before we end the video. So let's go ahead and jump over, and let's look at that. Well, I've switched over, and now I'm using the web app Navionics. It's a free tool that's out there that Navionics give you. You can go to webapp.navionics.com and see exactly what I'm seeing. Now, this map, I do have to admit, it's not as defined as the mobile app with the subscription that I have. The contours are still here, but they're just not as good as what I'm seeing on the mobile app. But they're still good enough for this lake so we can point it out. So let's go ahead, zoom in here to Lake Bonham. You can see here, like we've been talking about, not a very big lake, right? But we did have those offshore hotspots that we wanted to talk about. We had about 14 of them that we wanted to, I think, or something like that. I don't even know if there were 14, but we're going to talk about them real quick. Let's start up here at the dam, and let's just work our way back. Now, as far as at the dam, the main things we're looking for, especially on bodies of water like this, are where are points, right? And then where any types of drops or ledges or stuff like that. And then obviously, during spawning time, you want to see where your spawning flats are and then work your way back from that as well. But if we start up here at the dam, obviously the corner of the dam right here looks like it could be pretty good. It's got a nice flat point on it with some pretty good drops around it. And then you flip right over to the next side, you got another nice little point that's right here. Pretty good little flat top and then a nice little drop. So I can see this area in here, both these points being productive little areas. Then we back out. Not a lot of points down these coves to really look at. But from an offshore spot, this one looks really good. This long extended point that comes out here right off the edge. I mean, they can be anywhere up in here, but there's going to be brush piles and stuff like that as well that are probably out here off of these points. Another good point here, just a good rounded point. Coming back in here, I didn't see anything. I was hoping maybe we could find some secondary stuff, but nothing from a contour perspective that can really point out to you. This is going to be another one. Obviously, it's just a main lake point. It's got a little bit of a tabletop on it, but another good area to look for offshore fish. And then moving over here, we're going to get down here onto this side, and this one's kind of interesting because it's a little bit deceiving, I would say, because the boat ramp, I thought, was right in here somewhere. Maybe I'm getting lost on my lake here, but this point, and I've actually fished this point, has some brush off of it out in here. And I think it's like out in here as well. So definitely take a look at that. Then we're going to swing back down. Obviously, the riprap around the bridge is good. Something interesting going on here. Not sure what it is, like a real deep spot. So maybe just checking around the drops in that area and see if you can find anything there. Then we come up here and not much going on from points as far as this goes until we get over in here. Maybe this point right here you could check out. This point, definitely check out. You got the nice little flat top on it, really good break, breaks all the way out to 28 something feet. So you know this is going to be a decent little point to look at as well. And then also while you're there, scoot over and check out the other side too and see what you can find. And then last but not least is basically just going to be getting out here off the edges of these big flats that are out here by the dam and just getting off the edges and see if you can find some brush piles, stuff like that, something those fish can relate to. So guys, I hope this helps you out. That is a complete lake breakdown for Lake Bonham, offshore stuff, the Google Earth stuff, all of it right there for you. It's all out there for you to go download or get the downloaded version if you want. I can send you the files, or we can send you the SD card, which includes all the waypoints and everything, and you just take that SD card and put it right into your graph. So go check it out, simplisticfishing.com. And until next time, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.